You are by the sea, the Polish Sea, the Baltic. It is one of those summer days when time seems to move more slowly from the very morning. The sun is already high, but it does not burn. It warms gently, evenly, as if it has the whole afternoon ahead of it. The air is bright, clean, filled with light. Somewhere in the background, for quite a while now, there has been a familiar sound, the low, steady murmur of the Baltic waves. Calm, predictable, soothing. Ahead of you is a path through the dunes. You know that beyond them lies the beach and the open sea. You are in no hurry. This is not a moment that needs a destination. It is a moment that exists for its own sake. You walk slowly. You feel the sea somewhere ahead of you, present, calm, breathing in its own rhythm. Before stepping into the open space, you pass through a narrow passage between the dunes. The path is lightly trodden. The sand beneath your feet has a different color, more beige, mixed with pine needles, small twigs, remnants of grass. The air here is warm, but not stifling. The sun reaches you softly, filtered through the tall dune grasses. Their blades move gently, making a quiet, dry rustling sound. The wind is barely noticeable, just a soft brush against your face, your forearms. It smells of dry vegetation, sand, and something else, slightly salty, barely perceptible, yet promising. You are wearing flip-flops. Each step is distinct. The sand beneath them gives way slightly, but not as deeply as on the beach. It is more compact, mixed with fine soil. The flip-flops hit the ground with a dull, soft sound. Your walk is calm, rhythmic. You are not rushing anything. The path begins to widen. The space ahead grows brighter. You feel the light opening up. A few more steps, and suddenly you step out of the shade. The beach. You stop instinctively. Before you stretches a wide, bright expanse. The sand is almost white, fine, uniform. The sea in the distance glistens in the sun, its surface trembling gently. The sky is bright, with high, slow-moving clouds. Everything feels larger, calmer, more open. You take your first step onto the beach sand. You immediately feel the difference. Your flip-flops sink deeper. The sand is loose, light, yet resistant. Each step requires a bit more effort. Your calves work harder. The sand shifts beneath your feet, slides, settles back into place. You hear a soft, dry rustle, thousands of tiny grains moving at once. You walk slowly, wading forward. The sun warms the sand. Heat passes through the soles of your flip-flops and spreads beneath your feet. It is not hot. It is pleasant, summery, as if the sand were giving back the warmth it gathered throughout the day. You stop again. You look around. The sea is calm. The waves are small, regular. Their white edges appear rhythmically and disappear, leaving behind a thin, shimmering layer of water on the sand. The sound reaches you more clearly now, steady, low, soothing. You take off your flip-flops. You place one bare foot on the sand. The first sensation is intense. The sand is very fine, almost like powder. It immediately gives way beneath your foot, enveloping it softly. You feel warmth on the sole, and at the same time a gentle coolness deeper down, where the sun no longer reaches. Your toes spread slightly, and the sand flows between them, enveloping them, filling every space. You shift your weight to the other foot. The same sensation again. Softness, looseness, a subtle pressure. You take a few steps. Each movement is slower, more deliberate. Your feet sink in up to the ankles, and when you lift them, the sand quietly slips back into place. You stop. You bend down slowly. You reach toward the ground. You touch the sand. It is dry, warm, velvety. You scoop some into your hand. You let it run through your fingers. It flows slowly, in a thin stream. You don't feel individual grains, rather a soft, continuous movement, as if the sand were almost liquid. You let it run again and again. Each movement of your fingers changes the direction of the stream, creating new, tiny patterns on the surface. You look closely. Little mounds form and immediately collapse. The sun reflects off the grains, making the sand shimmer slightly. You have the impression that it is infinitely fine, almost unreal, as if it didn't belong to one place, but to the whole of this space. You rub your fingers together. A thin layer of sand remains on your skin. You feel its texture before it falls away. You straighten up slowly. You take a deep, calm breath. The air is clean, saturated with light. The sound of the sea becomes clearer. In the distance, birds circle above the water, their calls stretched and calm, as if they are in no hurry. You walk further toward the water, without a rush. Each step is part of the walk, not a means to an end. Your feet beneath your The sand beneath your feet works, yields, shifts. Your body adjusts to this rhythm. Your shoulders relax. Your breathing deepens. The sea is closer now, and even before you touch the water, before you feel the coolness of the waves, before you immerse your feet, you are already part of this place. The beach receives you slowly, without words, without haste. You stand on the beach without your flip-flops now. You left them a little way back, carelessly stuck into the sand, as if they were only a temporary addition to this place. Now you are barefoot. All contact with the beach happens through your feet. At first you stand still. The warm sand slowly settles around your feet. You look down. You see how your toes, clearly defined just moments ago, begin to disappear, first covered by a thin layer, then a thicker one. The sand shifts, slides, fills the spaces between your toes. You have the feeling that something living is gently embracing you. You move your foot very slowly. The sand responds immediately. It reveals a patch of skin, then covers it again. Your toes emerge like small sandy creatures, then disappear again. You play with this movement, lightly, without haste. You press your foot deeper, then pull it out. You feel how the warmth of the sand changes with depth. On the surface, it is clearly warm. Underneath, pleasantly cooler. You drag your foot across the dry sand, slowly, very slowly. The sand parts beneath your sole, forming a delicate wave. And then a sound appears. Not a squeak, not a crunch. Something entirely different. A soft, gentle drawing sound, like psh, as if air were being pulled in by thousands of tiny grains at once. It is the sound of dry, fine sand moving under a bare foot. Brief, subtle, almost intimate. Only you hear it. You repeat the motion, again and again. Each movement of your fingers changes the direction of the stream, creating new, tiny patterns on the surface. You look closely. Little mounds form and immediately collapse. The sun reflects off the grains, making the sand shimmer slightly. You have the impression that it is infinitely fine, almost unreal, as if it didn't belong to one place, but to the whole of this space. You rub your fingers together. A thin layer of sand remains on your skin. You feel its texture before it falls away. You straighten up slowly. You take a deep, calm breath. The air is clean, saturated with light. The sound of the sea becomes clearer. In the distance, birds circle above the water, their calls stretched and calm, as if they are in no hurry. You walk further toward the water, without a rush. Each step is part of the walk, not a means to an end. Your feet beneath your feet works, yields, shifts. Your body adjusts to this rhythm. Your shoulders relax. Your breathing deepens. The sea is closer now, and even before you touch the water, before you feel the coolness of the waves, before you immerse your feet, you are already part of this place. The beach receives you slowly, without words, without haste. Ahead of you is the sea. You hear it more clearly now. The sound of the waves grows fuller, deeper. The air near the shore smells different, more humid, more salty. You walk in that direction, still slowly, as if each step were a separate experience. Again, you drag your foot across the sand, longer this time. The sand shifts beneath your sole, and that characteristic sound appears again, soft, absorbing, almost hypnotic. You feel the tension in your legs and back slowly dissolving. A few more steps. The sand begins to look different. The color changes slightly. It is less loose, more compact. You know that in a moment you will touch the water. You stand at the boundary between two worlds, dry, warm sand and the cooler, damp shoreline. You do not step in yet. You let your feet simply be, because even though you want to experience what comes next, the waves, the water, the coolness, this moment, this barefoot contact with dry sand is so pleasant that it is hard to leave. But the sea is waiting, and you know that in the next moment you will take another step. You take that step. First, only your toes sink into the water. The coolness is distinct but gentle, not cold, refreshing. The Baltic water wraps around your toes, slips between them, and the sand beneath instantly changes its texture. The dry looseness disappears. Now it is soft, dense, almost velvety. You stand still for a moment. A wave approaches, flows around your feet, then retreats. It leaves behind a faint tingling. The sand beneath your feet sinks slightly deeper. You feel your feet becoming more firmly anchored, as if the sea wants to hold them in place. You move forward, very slowly. The water reaches your ankles, then a bit higher. Every step is tangible. The resistance of the water, the softness of the seabed, the subtle shifting of the sand. You hear a soft splash, muted, smoothed by the rhythm of the waves. You stop at the edge of the water. You crouch. The water now reaches below your knees. You feel the wet sand there, cool, soft, yielding. You place your hands on the bottom. You press your fingers into the sand, gently at first, then more firmly. The sand gives way easily. A wave comes in, washes some of it away, allowing you to sink your hands even deeper. You begin to dig. Your movements are slow, almost automatic. Sand fills your hands and slips back into the water. With each motion, the hollow grows deeper. Beside it, a small mound of wet sand forms. You move it a little farther, onto the drier part of the shore. There, the sand changes again, becoming pliable, sticky, obedient. You begin to build, layer by layer. You pat the sand with your hand, smooth the sides. A simple tower forms, uneven but stable. You see how the moisture holds everything together. Waves keep reaching the pit you've dug. Each one washes it a little more. The walls grow thinner. You notice a crack. Nothing happens yet. You add another layer. You adjust it. You know it won't last. And then a slightly stronger wave arrives. It undermines the base. In an instant, much of the tower collapses inward, sliding down quietly, without noise. You watch calmly, without disappointment. It was meant to be that way. You scoop up wet sand in your hands and let it flow through your fingers. It falls slowly, forming tiny cones, miniature landscapes. Each grain clings to the next. For a moment you observe it closely, as if it were a world of its own. Finally, you straighten up. You brush your hands clean. You move on along the shore. The sand beneath your feet becomes firmer again. Sometimes the water reaches your ankles. Sometimes it pulls back completely. You walk slowly, feeling the rhythm of the waves. At some point, the ground changes distinctly. Instead of soft sand, small stones appear. Each step is different. The stones shift, roll slightly, press gently against your soles. It is a completely new sensation, less stable, more demanding of attention. You lift your gaze. In the distance, you see rows of wooden posts, set in a line, perpendicular to the shore. Breakwaters. Some of them look new, light-colored even, still raw. Others are older, darker, gnawed by water and time. Their surfaces are rough, covered with lichens, greenish and brown. On some of them sit seagulls. You hear them clearly. Their voices carry over the water, near and far at the same time. Some cry sharply, others answer with deep, throaty sounds. They sit proudly on the posts, motionless, watching the sea and the beach. Occasionally one flaps its wings or changes position. The breakwaters form a clear perspective. The line draws your gaze out into the sea. The ones closest to shore seem accessible, almost inviting. Farther out, another row is visible. There the water is deeper, more restless. You know you won't go there, not now, but the ones near the shore, you look at them carefully. You feel a slight curiosity, but also caution. You know you can approach them. You also know that beyond them begins a different part of the beach. Stones, cliffs, a different landscape. You stand for a moment, listening to the seagulls and the waves. In front of you are the breakwaters. Beyond them, the next stretch of the journey. You move closer. The first breakwater is right by the shore. The water reaches only to your calves. You stand for a moment, looking at the posts up close. They are thick, massive, driven deep into the seabed. The wood is cracked, smoothed in places by the waves, rough in others. On the lower parts, you see darker bands, traces of constant contact with water. Higher up, the color lightens, fading into gray, almost silver. You place your hand on one of the posts. It is cool to the touch, rough. You feel irregularities under your fingers, small hollows, places where the wood has been worn away. Lichens form a thin, slippery layer, greenish and brownish, like a map drawn by the sea. You place your foot on the first stone set between the posts. The stone is wet, smooth. You feel uncertainty. You shift your weight carefully. Then another step. You are now standing on the breakwater near the shore. The seagulls watch you attentively, but they do not fly away. They sit proudly, calmly, as if they were the true inhabitants here. You stop. You look ahead. Beyond the breakwaters, the landscape changes. The beach is no longer uniform. Sand mixes with stones, from small, smooth pebbles to larger, irregular rocks. Each has a different color: grays, browns, rusty hues, sometimes almost black. Walking here is entirely different from walking on sand. You place your feet carefully. The stones shift, roll slightly, forcing you to stay alert. Your soles feel every shape, bumps, edges, cool surfaces. You step down from the breakwater and continue onward. The sound of the sea changes. It becomes deeper, more resonant. The waves now strike not only sand, but stones and cliffs. The sound echoes, returns, blends. You hear individual impacts of water against rock, the dull, wet sound of retreating waves. You lift your gaze. Cliffs, sandy, pale, in places almost white. Tall, steep. Their faces are uneven, marked by landslides. You see layers, a record of time. At their tops grow trees, powerful hornbeams, old and strong. Their roots are exposed, washed out by water and rain. They hang in the air, tangled, as if frozen in motion. You walk closer to one of the cliffs. At its base lie fragments of earth, pieces of roots, sticks. You touch one of the exposed roots. It is hard, dry, stripped of bark. It has a strange, sculptural form. Looking at it, you imagine a storm, wind, night, waves crashing with force, the sound of breaking wood. All of this must have happened here. Now it is calm. You continue along the rocky shore. The water sometimes reaches your ankles, sometimes pulls back completely. The stones beneath your feet are cool, slippery, yet smooth. Occasionally, you step onto a patch of compacted, hard sand. In the shallows, you see clear patterns on the bottom, small, regular ripples, as if the waves had been frozen in motion. You step on them. You feel the ridged structure under your feet, soft yet stable. Suddenly, the ground drops. One step, and the water reaches above your knees. You feel the sudden change. You stop, then slowly turn back. You step out of the water. Stones reappear beneath your feet, then more and more sand. You stop once again and look along the shoreline. The breakwaters are now behind you. The cliffs stretch on. You know you could walk like this for a very long time. But you also feel that this is not the end of the walk, only another stage. The sea murmurs steadily, the stones are silent, and the path leads onward, toward the dunes, toward quiet, toward green. You continue, but now your steps slow even more. The landscape begins to change almost imperceptibly, as if it does not want to draw attention to itself. There are fewer stones beneath your feet. Sand returns, first shyly, then more clearly. It is no longer as uniform as before. It is lighter, almost white, but mixed with pine needles, fragments of moss, remnants of grass. Under your feet, you feel something new. This sand is soft like flour, not loose in the same way as on the open beach, but more cushioning. When you step, it feels as though your foot sinks into something fluffy. The farther you go, the more moss appears, green, lush, springy. Ordinary grass appears between the clumps, but everything blends together into a natural, soft carpet. You lift your gaze, and then you see it, a bay. You are not looking at it from the water, but from land, slightly from the side, among trees and moss. The view is quiet, sheltered. The sea here is calmer, as if nestled into the land. The shores are gentle, without sharp edges, without cliffs. Lines flow into one another softly, naturally. You have the impression that once, long ago, the sea reached farther inland, as if there had once been a lagoon here, quiet, shallow, protected. Now you see only traces of that history, a slight depression in the land, a different color of sand, more moist, more compact. Somewhere between the stones, a small stream flows. It is so subtle you almost don't notice it. Water trickles quietly, dividing into thin threads. You don't know exactly where it comes from. You don't see where it meets the sea. It simply disappears, spreads across the beach, soaks in, blends with the sand. Is this how small streams reach the sea? Without noise, without a clear boundary, quietly, almost unnoticed. You stand for a moment and listen. There is no strong roar of waves here, only a gentle lapping, the soft movement of water over stones, the rustle of needles beneath your feet. The wind moves the treetops high above, but down here it is calm. The view is overwhelming in its simplicity. Soft sand, moss, grass, trees, everything blends together. The colors are muted, whites, greens, pale browns. Light filters through the branches, creating calm patches on the ground. The sea is present, but as if in the background, like a memory. You take a few more steps, feeling more and more moss beneath your feet. It is springy, cool, damp. Each step is quiet, as if you didn't want to disturb this place. You stop, you look at the bay once more, and you know that this place does not need words or movement. It is enough to be. The sea breathes very calmly here, and you breathe with it.
You continue along the shore, but now the landscape becomes harsher. The beach narrows. The sea moves closer to the land. The sand is no longer uniform. It mixes with stones, large and small, smooth and rough. Each step requires attention. You place your foot carefully, feeling how the stones shift slightly, testing your balance. The sound of the waves changes. It is deeper, louder. The waves now strike not only sand, but hard edges. The sound echoes off the cliff walls and returns to you multiplied, as if the sea were speaking with a fuller voice. You lift your gaze. The cliffs are close now, sandy, pale, tall. Their faces are uneven, cut by landslides, as if someone had carved them slowly, layer by layer. You see clear levels, a record of years, rain, frost, and wind. At the base of the cliffs lie fragments of earth, bits of sand, small stones. On top grow trees, powerful hornbeams, old. Their trunks are thick, solid, but their roots are exposed, washed out by water, rain, and storms. They hang in the air like tangled sculptures. Some are thin like ropes, others thick and massive, stripped of bark, smooth, pale. You touch one. It is hard, dry, cool. You imagine a storm, night, wind, waves crashing with enormous force. That must have been when the earth collapsed, revealing what had once been hidden. Now it is quiet. You walk on. The waves come closer and closer to the cliffs. In some places, the sea reaches almost to the wall. You have to slow down, sometimes stop, waiting for a wave to retreat. leaving behind a wet, shining strip of sand. You look down. Among the stones, you notice something transparent. You stop. It is a jellyfish, lying still, semi-transparent, like a piece of water that forgot to return to the sea. Delicate, almost invisible. You wonder if it was just here a moment ago in a wave, or if it arrived earlier. You step around it carefully. A few steps later, you pick up a stone. It is smooth, brown, light. You turn it in your hand. Could it be amber? You look closely. You know real amber is warm to the touch, lighter, translucent. This one might just be a stone, or maybe not. You put it down. Perhaps real amber is still waiting for you. As you continue, you feel the landscape soften again. The cliffs grow lower. The shore becomes gentler. There are fewer stones. Sand returns, lighter, finer. The waves are calmer. The sea seems to retreat, to breathe more slowly. And then you notice it. A bay. You don't see it from the water, but from the land, from the soft transition between beach and greenery. The shoreline curves gently here, without sharp edges. Everything feels soft, natural, calm. You have the sense that once there was more sea here, that long ago it reached farther inland, as if there had been a lagoon. Beneath your feet, the sand is extraordinary, soft like flour, almost white. It mixes with pine needles, small fragments of moss and grass. Each step is quiet, as if the earth didn't want to be disturbed. Between the stones, you notice a delicate movement of water, a stream, thin, subtle. You don't know where it comes from. You don't see where it joins the sea. It simply spreads, disappears among the stones, seeps into the sand. Is this how small rivers reach the sea? Without noise, without a clear boundary, quietly, almost unnoticed. You stand and watch. The view of the bay is breathtaking in its stillness. Sand, moss, grass, trees. The sea is present but calm, as if resting. The waves are gentle, in harmony with the place. You feel that this is the last moment by the sea, before you move on. Beyond this lies the dunes, the forest, silence. But for now, you stand here, where the sea leaves its traces.
You stand for a moment longer at the place where the bay ends and the soft land begins. You don't move right away. You feel that this is a moment worth holding on to. You turn once more toward the sea. You look for a long time. The sea is hypnotic, calm, vast, breathing in its own rhythm. The waves roll one after another, unhurried, as if they know they have nowhere to go. Their sound rises and falls, even, soothing, almost lulling. You watch them as if you could watch forever. You hear the seagulls, Some are close, their calls sharp and clear. Others come from afar, stretched by distance. The cries of the birds blend with the sound of the waves and the gentle breeze that moves the grasses and pine needles, softly touching your face. This wind carries the scent of salt, moisture, and summer. You look toward the horizon. The line of the sea is clear, calm. Far away you see ships, small dark silhouettes moving slowly, almost motionless against the sky. You know they are moving, but from this distance they seem suspended in time. It makes the space feel even larger. You hold this image inside you. Once more, one last look. The sea shimmers in the sun, the waves sparkle, and the whole scene is so calm it is hard to leave. You feel a quiet nostalgia, gentle, warm, not painful, but comforting, like a memory of something good that is just ending, yet will stay with you for a long time. You take a few steps. Ahead of you are the dunes. Their lines are soft, gentle. The sand brightens in the sun. You know that beyond them begins another world, quieter, more sheltered. You turn back once more, just for a moment. The sea is still there, beautiful, calm, endless, and you move on. You step onto the dune. The sand slides beneath your feet, warm, fine. Each step is slower. The sea stays behind you, but its sound still follows, softer now, as if heard through a dream. Beyond the dune appears a dune forest. Pine trees stand scattered but tall. Their trunks are warm orange-brown. Their crowns whisper high above. The sound is different from the waves, more steady, more enclosing. The scent changes instantly, resinous, moist, cool. Beneath your feet the sand disappears. Moss appears, thick, soft, springy, green in many shades. You sink into it slightly, like into a soft carpet. Each step is quiet. The moss yields and then returns to its place, as if it didn't want to leave any trace. You walk very slowly. The terrain undulates gently. These are still dunes, but covered in greenery. Small rises and dips make your movement smooth, flowing. Between the moss grow grasses, low shrubs, young pines. The trees begin to part. Ahead of you appears a clearing. It is bright, calm, almost perfectly flat. The grass is lush green, dense, soft. There are no other plants, just grass. It looks wild, yet as if someone had cared for it with great tenderness, as if it had always been here, exactly as it should be. You approach. You step onto the grass with bare feet. It is warm, slightly damp, soft, gentle. You feel it beneath your toes, beneath your whole soul. You take a few steps, slowly, savoring the sensation. You lie down. First your back, then your shoulders, then your head. The grass yields beneath you and shapes itself to your body. Your hands sink into the blades. You feel their coolness and softness. You look at the sky. Clouds drift slowly, very slowly. They change shape, stretch, disappear. The light is soft, calm. You breathe deeply. You hear sounds, the distant, very distant murmur of the sea, the soft rustle of trees, sometimes a bird, sometimes nothing at all. Your body grows heavier. Your breathing deepens. Your thoughts slow and dissolve into this place. Everything that came before, the waves, the cliffs, the stones, fades into the background like a calm memory. You lie there, you breathe, and at some point you no longer notice when the world grows completely quiet and sleep arrives gently, like a wave that no longer needs to return.